So, I did have some technical difficulties. Decided what the hell, I'm going to install the new router. So I was spending forever trying to get them to connect all this crap. Got it installed. It's much faster. It's much nicer than what Xfinity did. And it just boggles my mind. I don't know how a $200 modem and a $200 router just bleh. So now I got a combo. Hopefully it works well. Hopefully the videos don't come out choppy, because that's what ultimately led me to do this. But anyways, going to one of my favorite and your guys' favorite as well, that chapter. I know he's limited what he puts out now, and the content, as always, has always been great. He's grown a lot. If you've seen the video that I posted the other day, he didn't start out as animated as he is now, which I absolutely love. I mean, and it still boggles my freaking mind that this dude doesn't have 10 million subs. I mean, what the? Y'all gotta help spread the word, all right? So let's get into this one. It's a pretty long one, 41 minutes, I believe. So yeah, let's give it a go.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this whole video, what we are talking about is the theme of belief. See, we have a story of hoaxes, of non-hoaxes, and stories with a couple of twists and turns in between. See, what happens, right, when a person goes through a life-changing ordeal, shocking, horrific? What happens if they go through that and then nobody believes them, and in fact kind of just ridicules you?
So if anything, it is Mr. Quinn and Miss Huskins that owes this comedian an apology.
Or what if it happens the other way? You make up this ridiculous story and everybody falls for it.
All we want is truthful statements, because it's a crime to lie to federal officers.
Ah, yeah. That's good.
Understood?
Yeah.
This whole video takes us to good old California. There's one main story we will look at, with side glances at a couple of others, but basically, it is about one man who had it all. He had the decorated background, the great education, the job with the suit, but he decided to trade all that in for a mask, black clothing, and hatred. Against who? I don't even think he knows at this point. In 2015, in the middle of the night, a man snuck into a house and he bound the people who were sleeping there. Now, even at the time, he would admit he got the wrong person, but he would take him anyway. The funny thing is, though, about a year and a half later, there would be an overcorrection when a very similar story happened. But only one of these is the real Gone Girl, as they were both dubbed at the time. This is probably one of the craziest plots I've ever covered, because not only did they admit they got the wrong person, they sent out letters to the media apologizing for what they were doing, and we still don't even know who they really are. Let's give it a go. So the setting for this old video, or rather I guess where we set off from, is Mare Island, Vallejo, just north of San Francisco. Mare Island itself, it was once known for its naval shipyard. Now though, it's got its own thriving businesses, residential areas, and they shoot movies there too. Back in the year 2015, which is when our story takes place, it was a little more rundown than it is today, but I'm sure it was just there's worse places to live. So let's get into it. On that island, peninsula actually, lived Aaron Quinn, 30 years old, high school quarterback, and physical therapist. On the 23rd of March, at about 1:53 p.m, Aaron called the Vallejo Police Department. Something out of a nightmare had just happened. In the wee hours of that morning, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m, some people had broken into his house where he was sleeping with his girlfriend, drugged them both, and then taken her against her will. His girlfriend was Denise Huskins, 29 years of age. Aaron and Denise had been dating for roughly 8 months by this stage. She a physical therapist, like himself. They actually met in a hospital through their job. Aaron had in fact just come out of an engagement. He found out his ex-fiancée had been cheating on him, but you know what, now he had found a new love, and Aaron and Denise were just, the picture-perfect couple. And now she was out of the picture. Police arrived minutes after the 911 call. They rocked up to his house in Aaron, meeting the police there. He seemed quite disoriented, definitely like he had drugs in his system. He took the responding officers into his house and they found some weird stuff. Now his house, it was lovely. It was in a nice neighborhood. But, for example, in his kitchen, on the floor where the entrances to the other rooms from the kitchen, was, there was red tape. Aaron said to the police that the kidnappers had told him, don't cross that tape or else. They also saw a small security camera taped to the ceiling in his living room, and Aaron said the kidnappers had put that up there too and told him they were watching him. There were zip ties on the table. There were swimming goggles there that were blacked out. Like Aaron said, yeah, he'd been zip tied up and the goggles had been placed on him so he couldn't see anything. When the police went upstairs, they noticed a strong smell, like the place had just been recently cleaned and vacuumed up. They then took Aaron down to the station to tell the police exactly what had happened the previous night to him and Denise and what happened to her. Where was she now? He said that on the evening of the 22nd, him and Denise, they were chilling out in his house. They were eating pizza, they were drinking beer, they were talking because they were going through some relationship struggles. Denise had just recently learned that Aaron had been texting his ex and she was kind of like, it's shit or get off the pot time. They went to bed together at around 1 a.m. and Aaron, going to bed, he made sure the doors and windows were locked as he always did. Then, at about 3 a.m., they both woke up to a bright light in their bedroom, a sound which sounded like a stun gun, and a voice. This person, dressed head to toe in black, wearing wetsuits, in fact, called them both by their names, basically saying, this is a robbery. They were both told to, lie on the beds, flat on their stomachs. They were zip tied up, and then they had goggles that were blacked out put over them. Now, Aaron would say he definitely saw 2 sets of legs, and then both Denise and Aaron were forced into their closet. Then Aaron said headphones were put on him and a pre-recorded message played saying essentially, you're gonna take this drug one way or the other, It was roughly a quarter bottle of diazepam and NyQuil. If they didn't, drink it, it would be injected. And then, things could get worse if they did.
Diazepam is hardcore. For those of you who've ever taken it. See, I have a real bad back, and I've mentioned this many times from football, so they've tried, different medications, and that's supposed to help you sleep, and they had given me that, and I was like, fuck this. I mean, it just makes you feel like, yeah, Ambien so far has been the worst thing I've ever taken in my life. After that, diazepam, I think those fall under benzos or barbiturates. I don't know. I don't even know. But and NyQuil mix. Jesus Christ.
They didn't comply. Denise, she was then taken out. The kidnappers, they brought Aaron down to the kitchen. They told him they knew where he worked. They knew where he banked. They knew where he grew up. They seemingly knew everything about him. He was then told to keep his phone line open. They would contact him and get him to perform a series of tasks. And that basically he needed to pay 15 grand for Denise's safe return if he wanted her back, and he wanted her back in one piece. He was also made to give the kidnappers his banking information, access to his email accounts, and his laptop. So he was brought down to the kitchen. The kidnappers also brought down a spare change of clothes for him, because they're just nice guys, and then they also left the scissors there so he could cut himself free. Denise, she was gone, and Aaron then collapsed from the drugs they had made him take. He was in and out of consciousness for some time before waking up then the following afternoon. He cut himself free and he saw that Denise, his car and his laptop were gone. He saw on his phone an email from his Comcast.com account to his Live.com account, essentially demanding 2 payments of 8.5 grand. The kidnappers had access to his emails, so were using his own emails to contact him.
They told me the area I needed to stay in my house. Said that there was going to be video recording to monitor to make sure that I don't contact anyone.
He had his phone and he had Denise's phone, and he was told to text his own boss and Denise's boss, telling them, you're not going to be in. Now Aaron, his brother worked for the FBI, in fact, so he called him before he did anything else, and his brother advised him, call 911 right now. Shocking stuff, right? Well orchestrated and planned out. It seemed like these guys knew the exact layout of Aaron's house too, and God only knows what they were doing to Denise or where she was, but it seemed like professional. But why Aaron and Denise? Like, they weren't, especially well off or anything like that. If it was a robbery, why them? Well, it wasn't quite them. During the kidnapping, in fact, the intruders said they had gotten the wrong information. They asked Aaron if his ex-girlfriend looked like Denise, and Aaron said, yeah, they do look alike. Well, they both have long blonde hair. See, they hadn't broken in for Aaron and Denise, they'd broken in for Aaron and his ex-fiancée. But unbeknownst to them, they'd been, like, Aaron said that she hadn't been there in like 6 months. So that was Aaron's story of what happened. Then it just became a question of whether it was true or not. Because as horrific it was that I just told you, there are a number of red flags. The house, it seemed like it had just been cleaned. There was a small drop of blood on the bed, unbeknownst to Aaron. He took his sweet ass time calling the police, and he even called his brother before he called the police. He had her phone, and his car was gone. These are like the usual things you would see when we see murder of partner stories. During the interview, there were many questions of Aaron and Denise's relationship.
I then talked to my ex, and at the time when I was still dating Denise.
Is there tension in the relationship? Is she mad?
She's
Concerned?
Okay.
Is she cheating?
No, well, she felt that emotionally that was cheating in some sense.
I mean, did she discover something?
Well,
was she going through your phone and what the hell is
she
this?
went through my phone.
What'd she find?
Found text messages. But,
What did it say?
that's me saying I still care. I want to work things through with her.
Then he was hit with this gem.
The story that you're telling here? I ain't buying it all.
Yeah.
You gotta think about how this is all gonna play out.
Now I'm making you think about. I'm telling you what.
Listen to me. There ain't no frogmen came into your house. Nobody dressed in wetsuits or... It didn't happen. I don't think this happened intentionally. I think something happened, accidental, and you got to the point where you reacted the way that you did and you had to come up with this story.
The question eventually went in the direction of, alright, Aaron, come on, what'd you really do with her?
Watch the Lacey Peterson got whatever the hell his name was. Did you watch that story in the public out about that stuff? You look at that and you go, that dude's a lying son of a bitch. That's the way people look at you. Frogman obviously didn't do it, so who did it now? Well, it's the guy that I've been sitting here talking to tonight. So now I get out my puzzle pieces and I start figuring out, okay, how do I make it so you look like a monster? I don't want to do that. Ultimately,
I don't want to detract from the story too much, but have you guys ever seen those body linguists who say, there's certain signs of somebody showing guilt, which I think is full of shit. Everywhere I usually go, I'm usually crossing my arms like this. And they say, oh yeah, only guilty people do that as it's a form of soothing and self-comfort. Fuck it is. It's just comfortable for me. I have long-ass ape-like arms. If you ever go to the zoo, you know how, you go to the primates, they have the orangutan. Look at, this is their wingspan from tip to tip. My arms are longer than orangutan arms. I'm like, my brother constantly makes fun of me that my knuckles are dragging on the ground. But it makes it easy to reach for stuff, so hey, no complaint there. But everything, somebody could be watching this kid and be like, oh yeah, look at him, he's absolutely guilty. I'm still intrigued how this story is going to play out, because it doesn't sound like he is. Not one bit. But, these detectives, they only want to, I don't want to say all detectives, but many of them, they only see black and white. One or the other. And for the other, you could give them a million no's, but you say, possibly or yes once, and they think they have you. And it's just sad that I don't know how this is playing out. I'm like intrigued, but just my thoughts, man.
I'm looking for the truth. I'm not looking for alive Denise. I'm looking for dead Denise.
Aaron then took a polygraph test.
Alright, Aaron, there's no question in my mind that you failed the test. And you failed it miserably. It's not even close. I
did not do anything.
Okay.
I did.
I'm pretty sure maybe you did. Maybe you didn't do anything. Maybe something happened to her that you didn't plan. I don't know. You tell me. But it can't start with 3 guys showing up at the house taking her away. That's not what happened. You know where she is.
I don't know where she is.
The police even had Aaron's brother come in, the FBI agent, in hopes that Aaron would confess to him about what they believed he had done to Denise. Like, they were not, the search was on. Like, they had hundreds of officers out there on Mare Island looking for Denise Huskins, but they did not believe they were searching for, they thought they were looking for a corpse at this point. They thought his story of the kidnappers and all this was complete bullshit.
I can promise you that the police department, working in partnership with the other law enforcement agencies, we're doing everything that we can and then some to ensure her safe return.
That search continues for the Vallejo woman who disappeared yesterday. Police say 29-year-old Denise Huskins was possibly kidnapped for ransom.
But there are still a lot of questions in this case.
We can't go into specifics about the ransom, but all I can tell you is the original witness indicated that a ransom demand was made.
Their biggest question is why Huskins' boyfriend, whom neighbors and family identify as Aaron Quinn, waited hours to call police.
Aaron, he was let go, but it seemed like charges could be coming soon, or the police were at least licking their chops that they would be. Now, Aaron's car was found. It was found at the Department of Veterans Affairs on Mare Island, but there was no evidence, of what could have happened. No clues at the car. And then something really odd happened. An email was sent from Aaron's email account, as the kidnappers, they had access to it. And an email was sent to Henry Lee of the San Francisco Chronicle, a reporter with that newspaper. And, it had a voice recording on it.
Okay, my name is Denise Huskins. I'm kidnapped. Otherwise, fine. My first concert with Bethany and her mom, to Blink-182, Bad Religion. Earlier today, there was a plane crash in the Alps. 150 people died.
He passed this on to the police. Now, what it was a proof of life email, because she mentioned the German Wings airplane crash. Now, she'd been taken in the early hours of the 23rd of March, and that German Wings crash was on the 24th of March. The police, they were then, we were only joking with you before, duh. Where's your sense of humor? They asked Aaron to come back to the station to send a message to the kidnappers from his phone. Now, the police, they had Aaron's phone, and they were, giving it a go because they thought this was a murder. They had his phone in the station this entire time on airplane mode. So when Aaron got his own phone back and turned off airplane mode to contact the kidnappers, his phone exploded with missed calls and messages from the kidnappers. They had been trying to contact him the entire time, but the police, not believing this was real, never bothered to look at his phone and put it on airplane mode. Motherfucker. Even if you didn't believe him and you thought this was some kind of domestic violence incident, the slim possibility that it was real, should, maybe just keep an eye on his phone in case somebody actually does try contact him. Maybe. Yeah, these buckos, 10 out of 10, wouldn't trust these super cops to guard a McDonald's. Then, though, the next morning, on March 25th, Denise appeared.
And police just confirmed what the woman's family has been saying all morning long, that she is alive and well down in Huntington Beach where her parents live. Here is the picture of the woman we've been talking about all week, 29-year-old.
She had been dropped off by the kidnappers in Huntington Beach, California. A fair old drive now, you know yourself, a good 6 hours. She had been dropped off right by her mother's house. It's a miracle. It's a hoax. See, Denise told the police, she had been taken out of Aaron's house. She had been put into the trunk of Aaron's car, and then she just, knocked out with the drugs she was taking, and then she woke up in the bedroom of a quiet house. Now, she didn't know where it was, but she assumed it might be in the countryside or something. Like, it was very quiet. She said she was zip-tied to a bed, and she had to wear those blacked-out goggles pretty much the entire time. She said there was at least 4 of these kidnappers, and they were well-organized machines. Then, after a couple of days, they just let her go. They did it near Huntington Beach, because they wanted to release her away from the commotion near Vallejo, and they knew from her driver's license, that's where she was from, that's where she grew up. She ended up walking to her dad's house. He wasn't there at the house, so she asked the gardener for his phone, and she called the police. Hey, I'm here. She said she'd been well looked after by the kidnappers. You know, food, water, they allowed her to shower, they allowed her to brush her teeth. Like it was a holiday, is what the police were thinking.
Where did they drop you off here?
Down Utica.
So I noticed you have obviously your purse and your jacket. How did you get that stuff?
They brought it with me. They knew that it was my stuff.
Did you ever ask him to let you go?
I asked him if he was going to hurt me. I asked him if he was going to kill me. He had said there was no reason for that.
Were you sexually assaulted or anything like that during this?
No.
They didn't touch you or do anything to you against your will?
No. It's weird because with all things considered, they treated me really nicely.
Our detectives are going to have to talk to you.
Yeah, I wanted to see about talking with the lawyer first.
Yeah, no shit. The way
she seemed like really calm to them. Like when the police went to where Denise said she had been dropped off, she said that when she'd been dropped off, she had, torn duct tape off herself. When they went there, they didn't find any evidence of like duct tape or anything like that. The police, they spoke with the gardener who Denise had borrowed the phone of. The gardener said, yeah, when she came over, she was fine. She didn't seem nervous or anything. She was like, regular person. Not like she'd just been kidnapped, in other words. The police quickly announced to the media they believed the entire thing was a hoax. Gone Girl was the thing immediately everybody was comparing it to.
I really appreciate everybody taking the opportunity to coming out here on such short notice, so we really appreciate that. First and foremost, before we go any further, I would like to offer an apology for us being so guarded with our investigative information. Please understand that it is a necessary evil, and our primary focus has always been the safety of the members of our community. So, it's confirmed that Mr. Aaron Quinn and Miss Denise Huskins are in a dating relationship. And from this point forward, I will not refer to them as a victim or a witness. The statement that Mr. Quinn provided was such an incredible story, we initially had a hard time believing it, and upon further investigation, we were not able to substantiate any of the things that he was saying. That is a tremendous amount of resources that, in my opinion, was wasted. But I can tell you, in the grand scheme of things, Mr. Quinn and Ms. Huskins has plundered valuable resources away from our community.
Oh my God, this is... Wow. What a fucking prick. Excuse my language, but... Yeah, we just want attention, let's just, copy a movie and, yeah, we'll do this, and I'll go ahead and spend, roughly 8 hours at your police station being grilled by a couple detectives, a guy who says I'm lying on a lie detector test, just for the hell of it, just because I want to have fun and, nothing else is interesting right now. I can't be doing a million other things at the moment. I'll be here. I'll hang out with y'all. God damn, And
has taken the focus away from the true victims of our community. It is Mr. Quinn and Ms. Huskins that owes this community an apology. At the conclusion of the investigation, if you feel that there is sufficient evidence to move forward, we will be requesting criminal charges either for the state or the federal level.
This is like the whole Sherry Papini thing all before again, because that wouldn't happen for another 20 months, later. You all know the story, she claimed she was out for a morning jog and was abducted by 2 Hispanic women when instead she just ran away with her boyfriend and was having a grand old time.
Obviously, you never would have imagined that CNN in 2020 and Good Morning America would care about you wanting to leave Keith or wanting to teach him a lesson. Or wanted to.
In September 2022, Sherry Papini was sentenced to 18 months in prison and fined $300,000. Hope it was worth it.
Breaking news. We have just confirmed that this woman's kidnap for ransom story is all a hoax.
Like Amy Dunn, Denise's kidnapping was all a hoax.
Was an orchestrated event and not a kidnapping.
Her story started to fall apart.
It was all a hoax.
So yeah, the police were outright calling this a hoax. Even when Denise, she was interviewed by the police and she was saying things to the Vallejo detectives that she had been told by the kidnappers not to say. One was that she had been sexually assaulted twice and that they had recorded it to blackmail her. And two was that one of the kidnappers had let slip that he had been in the Marines. One of the kidnappers also told Denise that he had been in Aaron's home 5 times in the preceding months, which is creepy as shit. Yeah. But the cops, they still did not bite, even offering both Denise and Aaron immunity. Whichever one of you tells us it was a hoax first, you won't be prosecuted. Then, something again crazy happened after that press conference. The reporter who initially got the voice recording, Henry Lee of the San Francisco Chronicle, he got another email from huskins@hotmail.com. I speak for the group that kidnapped Miss Huskins. We are a group of what I suppose you would call professional thieves, though we have not been doing it that long and don't identify ourselves as such. We are more than 2 and fewer than 8 in number. All but one of us hold at least bachelor degrees, including from your alma mater. Ms. Huskins was absolutely kidnapped. We did it. We will provide incontrovertible proof of that and the Chronicle will break it. We will not turn ourselves in nor reveal our identities. Even after we come out, we don't think there will be any link allowing the police to identify us. But it is still risky, and as things stand now, we could apparently get away with anything. We would rather take the chance of revealing the truth than live in a world where someone like Denise Huskins is victimized again and again. We have no prior link to Ms. Huskins and did not know who she was until the night of the operation. We believed the woman there was Aaron's ex. The bottom line, inconceivable as it sounds given what we have done, is that we really didn't want to hurt anyone. We are young adults, fairly recent college graduates, and up until now, this was a bit like a game or movie adventure. We fancied ourselves a sort of Ocean's 11. Gentlemen criminals who only took stuff that was insured from people who could afford it. The horrifying reality of what we have become and what we are doing did not set in until being confronted directly with Denise Huskins' suffering and humanity. We now feel like the pieces of shit we have become. And though we don't have the courage to turn ourselves in and spend the rest of our lives in prison, we will not stand by and see the life of a really good person ruined. So now, the kidnappers were emailing the news and saying, nope, it really did happen. The police spokesman guy, he's wrong.
No.
We really did kidnap her and, sorry about that. 2 days later, the kidnappers sent another email, a 10,000 word email. I'm not reading you out all of that shit, you can find it easily enough online. We kidnapped Denise Huskins and held her for ransom after breaking into the home of Aaron Quinn. The kidnapping was not a hoax, and neither is the statement by us, the perpetrators. We are deeply ashamed and regretful of our unforgivable conduct. Nothing can ever make up for what was done. Mr. Aaron Quinn, and especially Miss Denise Huskins, suffered a life-threatening ordeal painful beyond what most people can imagine. We were therefore dismayed, further ashamed, and truly dumbfounded that when Mr. Aaron Quinn and Miss Denise Huskins sought help from the police turned against the victims, accused them of fabrication, and told Mr. Aaron Quinn and Ms. Denise Huskins they would be prosecuted and fined. It was also disturbing how many journalists cast the victims in a negative light. Reports never directly stated that Mr. Aaron Quinn and Ms. Denise Huskins were attention-seeking wackos who made it all up, but they conveyed mostly the information that would lead readers and viewers to this conclusion. Like the police, certain journalists crucified the victims long before there was enough information to do so. In the emails, they were able to provide information, only the kidnappers would know. The wetsuits, the drugs, the fake guns they had used to threaten the victims. They also had this whole spiel about they were, just college-educated kids who grew bored of the offices, and then they became, then they became this little gang who robbed cars and then graduated to home invasions, but never when there was kids in the house, and in fact they also prevented other crimes. And then they started kidnapping, but they'd come to regret that now, They were kind of heroes, actually, in a way, when you think about it. They told of how they were able to break into Aaron's home, drilling through the window pane. how they tried to make the kidnapping as comfortable as possible, for the victims, because they're really not bad guys, That's what the emails are really, really struggling to get that point across. How nice. They even sent photos of proof, ending with, "May God have mercy on us. We expect none from you." You know what the real joke is? The Vallejo Police Department, because when journalist Henry Lee passed this on to the police, they got back to him saying, it's all part of the fraud, though they're playing, Denise and Aaron are playing 5D chess. Those emails are bullshit.
Did this 29-year-old woman fake her own disappearance, just like the Ice Princess in Gone Girl? Police are outraged. Huskins can be seen in this video hiding under a black hoodie.
Yeah.
And now she's gone again, refusing to speak to police and hiding out at an undisclosed location. Now she and her boyfriend could face criminal charges.
The kidnappers even sent an email to Kenny Park police spokesman, this lad, threatening him if he didn't publicly apologize. The Vallejo Police Department has 24 hours to issue a full and unequivocal apology, one that includes the words, "We were wrong," or something very close to them. No mealy-mouthed, "It appears we may have initially misassessed the available evidence due to the complex and bizarre nature of the crime, and the unusual behavior of the victims in delaying their reports and retaining attorneys instead of working directly with the police." It will be a full apology, with zero insinuation that the victims had any role whatsoever in creating their predicament. "I've spent time doing the wrong thing for the wrong reasons. If you force it, I will do the wrong thing for the right reasons. No, not another kidnapping. You will see. There will be a lag before you find out, but after 24 hours it will be in motion if there is no full apology. We may not be the direct agent of harm, but it will be made crystal clear that the Vallejo Police Department, and you, Mr. Park, had every opportunity to stop it. You have more than enough information at this point to do the right thing and issue an apology to the victims. You have until noon tomorrow to make that happen." The next day, then, Kenny got another email from the kidnappers saying, "Okay, sorry about the ultimatum, we didn't actually mean that, but apologize though, would you? Stop persecuting her. I don't think you will find us, but if you do, good work. You may already have done one of us in. Another has had a nervous breakdown. But for my part, you definitely have me looking over my shoulder and jumping at shadows. I think I'll only find peace if I move to the middle of nowhere, or go overseas and teach English or some such. If you do manage to pull me out of a hole someday, good job. Well played. I'm not going to hurt anybody, but depending on where I am at that moment in time, I might have another spray-painted squirt gun. Or maybe it will be a real gun. Empty. Or maybe not empty. Just don't think too hard about that. Just aim true and get it done. If it ever comes to that." Those are like the shittest threats I've ever heard. My gun might be empty, or maybe not empty, or maybe it won't even be a gun. Maybe it'll be a chainsaw. All these emails, though, by the way, were sent from an anonymous service, so they couldn't be traced. And no apology was issued. This continued in the media for the following weeks and months. The Gone Girl case. It was a hoax, crucifying them in the media, mainstream and social. Only one detective wasn't so sure. On the 5th of June 2015, so 3 months after the kidnapping, there was a home invasion in Dublin, California. 60-year-old Chung Yen and his wife, 52-year-old Lynn, were woken up at about 3 a.m. someone with a bright flashlight in their bedroom. They were having a laser pointed at them. Their 22-year-old daughter was asleep in the next room, and the kidnapper was saying, "Your daughter is safe." They were then told, just as Aaron and Denise had been told, lie on your stomachs, and put your hands behind your back. Then, as the intruder reached over to zip tie up Chung's hands, he fought back. Chung and the intruder, they started fighting, while Lynn, she ran to the bedroom and she called 911.
County emergency.
We had a break-in. They are out there right now. My husband's fighting with them. I just broke loose. I will hide in the bathroom right now.
He's run away already.
He ran away. Okay, my husband is bleeding.
After a couple of minutes, the intruder fled the house, sprinted out there, dropping their cell phone on the way.
Oh, shit.
When the police arrived, they found the phone, bags of zip ties, duct tape, and gloves. It was Detective Misty Karasu who, was the one who began investigating the case, and her first port of call was that dropped cell phone, tracing who owned it. It gave them an address upon which, she contacted, She gave them a buzz, on the phone, and she was informed that that phone they had found, they had linked to the number. The person who owned that phone was not there at the time, and in fact, they supposedly lost it. So Misty was directed to a South Lake Tahoe property, where apparently he mostly lived. The police, they went there hoping to find this home intruder. The door was kicked in, the place a mess. Inside they found a black ski mask, duct tape, gloves, zip ties, rope, and also some creepy shit. A partially empty bottle of NyQuil, hair dye, crime scene tape, a bottle of Vaseline, and a penis pump. The man inside was taken into custody and the items taken into evidence, along with a white Mustang that was found on the property that had actually been reported stolen. It seemed a lot of the evidence, though, they found at that Lake Tahoe property could be linked to the Dublin home invasion. But what struck Misty was she found some other stuff too. A BB gun painted black to look real. The car GPS, the Mustang, its GPS system said it had recently been to Huntington Beach. And they also found a blow-up doll wearing all black clothing that had wires attached to it so the blow-up doll could stand. Also black swim goggles covered in black tape. And caught was a strand of blonde hair.
Wow.
The man inside was named Matthew Muller. Matthew Muller was raised in Sacramento, son of a teacher and school administrator. The Muller family often went hiking, diving, fishing, and he grew up in a normal, safe environment, other than being bullied for his weight. He didn't really get into sports, instead he was a fan of books and of music. He later joined the Marines, became obsessed with fitness, but wasn't really a guy's guy. Instead of heading out on the beer, he just worked out a lot. He played in the Marine Corps band, he was a good soldier, he earned a lot of medals, and he would be honorably discharged as sergeant. After that, he went to Pomona College, a liberal arts college, and he volunteered. He went headfirst into volunteering to help, the homeless people. So it's like, all right, sounds great so far. Decent dude. In 2001, Matthew traveled to Prague for an academic program and fell in love, later marrying the woman. In 2003, the pair moved to Boston, with Matthew attending Harvard Law School. After graduating, he taught there, and was well liked, specializing in immigration law. In 2008, Matthew would be diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He was prescribed medication, but he didn't take it because he disliked the side effects it gave him. He tried to hide it as much as he could.
Known fact. The two professions with the highest rate of suicide, lawyers and doctors. And it's sad because as a lawyer, you go seek, any professional help, you're going to automatically be deemed by, your HIPAA information should always be private, but of course that's not always the case. But they're going to obviously be concerned of your state of mind, while representing somebody. With police, not police, with doctors, same thing too. How are you going to be assessing somebody's, if you're a primary physician or a specialist, how are you going to be assessing, their ailments if you yourself are having, bipolar disorder or depression? I mean, it's sad that they get crucified like that. I'm not feeling all that sympathetic for this person, but also, again, mental illness makes people do some real weird shit. And, I've mentioned this many times, after music, before acting, I worked with people with disabilities for, like 7-8 years. And yeah, when they're not using their medicine, they can do some really weird shit. For instance, I was contracted with the Department of Veterans Affairs here in Denver before they built the new one. And on Fridays, I would often go out and buy my staff lunch. I had a staff that was 75% disabled, 25% non-disabled, which included me, the other supervisor, and a few other people. But for the most part, the 15, 16 staff members we had were disabled. And I get a call one day while I'm out getting them some food, that one of my clients is outside during her lunch break, rolling around in the grass looking for 4-leaf clover. And this is a 30-year-old woman. So it, mental illness can make you do some weird shit. And like I said, I've seen it firsthand.
But the more he hid it, the worse it got. In 2009, then Matthew and his wife, they moved from Boston to San Francisco. He got work at like a big old law firm there. And, well, he started taking new medication for his bipolar disorder, but the medication in turn gave him insomnia, which in turn led to psychosis. A form of it. Anyway, he began hearing voices, people talking to him. He began to become really, really paranoid. He believed that the Chinese government was out to get him.
I have really, really, really bad insomnia, and yeah, that has never happened to me once, so he was pretty, yeah, he was off.
Specifically him. His wife would leave him and he would be disbarred for refusing to give back a client's money. And after his arrest, the police began to look into him, and they learned he'd been linked, not definitively mind you, but linked enough to a number of unsolved crimes. In 2009, a woman was sleeping in her apartment near Stanford, California. Someone broke in much the same way the others had been. A guy came in, dressed in black, forced her to drink NyQuil, made her give him banking info, and then tried to sexually assault her. This happened again a month later. Then, in 2012, another woman reported a man broke into her house and she fought him off. Then, on Mare Island, between August 2014 and January 2015, numerous people on Mare Island reported seeing a peeping Tom. This guy looking into their windows in the dead of night. Creepy shit. Funnily enough, that was just around the time he moved to Mare Island with his girlfriend, moving into a house a block away from Aaron Quinn's. So after all this, Detective Misty, she contacted the Vallejo Police Department, noticing all the similarities between her guy from the Dublin home invasion to what happened to Aaron and Denise. She had heard about, the hoax, the Gone Girl, whatever. And she was like, maybe it's not. And the Vallejo PD turned around pretty quickly. What?
Big break in that case. It appeared to be a real-life Gone Girl. When a California woman was abducted from her home, her boyfriend tied up and drugged. Police accused them of faking the kidnapping, but now another man is behind bars, and authorities say it was not a hoax.
Today is a fabulous day for Denise Huskins, for Aaron Quinn. They are absolutely 100% not just not guilty, but innocent.
We're going to turn next tonight to new developments in the case some had called the real-life Gone Girl, the woman in California who claimed she...
This morning, investigators say the alleged mastermind behind a bizarre Northern California kidnapping plot could have even more victims.
We were happy to hear that the name had surfaced again.
It was 3 months after their horrific experience, 3 months of being accused of being liars, of frauds, by everybody. That the police came back to him and said, actually, you know what, we have your guy, so kind of sorry about all that. It would still be years, by the way, before the police would actually apologize.
Hey, Mr. Mueller, Henry Lee from KTVU, used to be with the Chronicle, you probably know. Just for the record, we're sorry about all the technical difficulties. Let me just get...
Oh, that's okay. I hear that the system doesn't like iOS.
Yeah, you know what? I'm the only Asian guy who knows nothing about technology. It might be a firewall. I don't know. So let me just get right to it, because this thing may not work in any minute. Now, how would you speak to Denise's feelings that she's been horrifically traumatized by you? She says, I know you've been traumatized. How about her trauma, as she describes it?
Well, again, I'm really sorry, sir. I'm going to have to defer until the trial. I will certainly be taking the stand in my own defense, and we'll talk about what did or did not happen. But it's something that does have to be saved for a later date. Sorry.
That's okay. What would you say? Is there anything you want to say directly to Denise or Aaron? Not necessarily about their wedding, but about what they say they experienced. Anything, any regrets? Anything you would say to them?
I don't think I have. I think that if there's going to be conversation, they should initiate it. That's their right at this point, so I wouldn't presume to say anything to them at this point.
Let me ask you about Vallejo Police. Why was it important for you to defend Denise, send me material over email? Why did that get you concerned that they were not believing what she said?
I can't reply to that without confirming that I'm the person that sent those emails. I will tell you I'm certainly outraged, as everybody should be, by the conduct of the police, or at least insofar as they decided at such an early phase in the investigation to turn it back to the victims and call it a hoax. That was probably not the best policing. I don't know all of the motivations behind it, so I won't presume to say that, but it was obviously a very, very damaging movement. I wish it not happened.
Did you send me the so-called, what people are calling the proof of life audio of Denise, and why did you send that?
I, again, can't speak to the facts, sir.
What do you want people to know about Matthew Mueller? They see different parts of you. They see you as a proud Marine, Harvard Law graduate, and now convicted kidnapper, now charged, accused of rape. What do you want people to know about you?
I think people should go hug their kid or hug their dog and not spend a lot of time thinking about me.
Matthew would plead guilty to the charges of breaking into the Dublin house, and he would also plead guilty of breaking into Aaron's house and kidnapping Denise. He got 10 years for the Dublin case, 40 for the kidnapping, and in 2022, 31 years for raping her.
God.
Aaron and Denise later sued the city of Vallejo and won $2.5 million.
Good.
And that is how the story ended. Happily ever after, kind of, I guess, for Aaron and Denise. They later married. They released a book called Victim F. Matthew Mueller is in prison, but there's still so many unanswered questions about this case. It's bananas. One being why Matthew Mueller targeted Aaron and his ex-girlfriend, who, he believed Denise was. They didn't know him at all. I mean, he lived a block away, so maybe he was, kind of losing his mind. Maybe he just saw them and became obsessed with them.
There were reports suggesting that you were actually targeting not Denise, but a former girlfriend of Aaron. What can we say about that?
I don't have any information about that, really. I don't have any involvement with the individual they say it was targeting and so forth.
So don't know is the answer to that one. Another don't know is if there actually was more people involved in the whole kidnapping plot. Aaron and Denise were convinced there was more people there. Like, what was done, there's no way just one person could have done it. But Matthew never said there was anybody else involved. And in fact, when they when the police were, gathering all the evidence they found at his place on Lake Tahoe, they did find the blow-up doll that was wired, so it could look like another person. They also found recordings of people whispering that he could have played in the background to make it seem like, two people were talking.
Aaron and Denise have believe that more than one person was involved. Can you, disavow them that theory? The investigators say use a voice modulator.
That's something that will come out fairly soon.
But still so many questions we do not know. But what we do know is this is an insane story with more twists and turns than...
one of the best.
Like a snake or some... shit, I can do better than that. But one thing we definitely know is that the cops made a dog's dinner out of this one. And, thank you so much for watching this whole video. I hope you found it as batshit as I did. It's insane. But yeah, I'll see you as always real soon in the next whole video. But until then, please look after each other, look after yourselves, because I love you. Mike out.
This was one of the craziest and most mind-boggling episodes that he has done. I mean, I would love to have heard the spokesman for the police department that was just putting it down on them that this was a hoax, this wasn't real, blah, blah, blah. Come out and say, you know what? I spoke too soon. It's not that. Be a bigger man. Just fucking apologize. That's all it takes. We all messed up. You guys messed up. You took his story as being unbelievable, and then look what happens. So, as always, go over and show Mike some love, please. Subscribe to him if you're not already there. This dude does a fantastic job in every video. I mean, I've binge watched over and over again. Been a huge, huge fan. So his work is just bar none. Probably, yeah. Like, he's my favorite YouTuber. And I want to just see this number climb up. I mean, I've even told dates and ex-girlfriends. I mean, it always seems like women like true crime stuff more than men, I find. And I don't mean that in a bad way. But when they mention, like, oh, yeah, I like watching true crime, I'm like, you have to watch that chapter. I'm like, he's witty, he's funny, he's sharp, he's smart. He puts his story together great. His editing is awesome. There was a part in there when I don't know what he was speaking on, but he put on in the background you could hear the Simpsons character. What is he, like the bully or something? I don't remember. But he always does that. I mean, he's clever, man. The dude, Mike, is awesome. So yeah, go show him some love. Thank you guys for watching, as always. I always appreciate it as well. And yeah, just like he says, take care of one another, watch out for each other. And for me, what I would say is, live life to the fullest. Do what you can to get out there and, be with family and friends, and especially around this time of the year. God, I hate these stupid, loud, freaking cars. Just enjoy what you have right now. Things can change in a heartbeat. Anyways, I'm not going to end it on a low note. This was probably one of my favorite reviews. I mean, top notch all the way. So I will be seeing you guys real soon. Till then, peace.